What roles helped Hyunbin and Ye-jin win top honors?
What if, on a single night in Seoul, the two most beloved actors in Korea not only attended the same ceremony, but walked away with the highest honors at the exact same moment, proving once and for all that lightning can indeed strike twice in the same perfect place. At the 46th Blue Dragon Film Awards in 2025, Hyunbin and Ye-jin made history by simultaneously claiming Best Actor and Best Actress, an achievement so rare that it instantly became the stuff of legend, whispered about in cafes, replayed endlessly online, and etched forever into the collective memory of Korean cinema. Hyunbin's victory arrived like a quiet thunderclap. He won for Harbin, a sweeping historical epic that recreates the chilling autumn of 1909 when Ahn Jung-geun, Korea's revered independence fighter, carried out his fateful mission in the snowy streets of Harbin to assassinate Itō Hirobumi. The film itself is breathtaking in scope. Trains slicing through frozen landscapes, clandestine meetings in dimly lit safehouses, and the constant shadow of betrayal. Yet everything hinges on Hyunbin's face. Those famously warm eyes suddenly turned icy with resolve. There is a moment early in the film when Ahn sits alone in a cramped room, writing his final manifesto by candlelight. The camera lingers on Hyunbin for what feels like an eternity, and in that silence, you can almost hear the heartbeat of a nation under colonial rule. It is the kind of acting that doesn't announce itself with shouting or tears. Instead, it seeps into your bones. I still remember leaving the theater feeling heavier, as though I had carried some of Ahn's loneliness home with me. What made the performance even more astonishing is that Hyunbin almost let the role slip away. When director Woo Min-ho first offered it, he refused, overwhelmed by the idea of embodying a figure every Korean child learns about in school. "How do you play someone whose name is practically sacred?" he later admitted. It took months of persuasion, late-night conversations, and finally, an almost spiritual sense of duty before he said yes. Once he committed, though, he dove in with monastic devotion, poring over Ahn Jung-geun's prison letters and courtroom statements, visiting the tiny museum dedicated to him in Seoul, even learning to write with a traditional brush to understand the physicality of a man from another century. The result is a portrait that feels less like acting and more like temporary possession. In the film's devastating final sequence, when Ahn faces execution, Hyunbin's lips tremble for only a fraction of a second. Yet that tiny fracture carries more grief than any scream ever could. When the director called cut on that last day of shooting, crew members say Hyunbin stood motionless for minutes, tears finally falling now that the character had left him. Across the venue that awards night, Ye-jin was preparing to deliver a different kind of earthquake. Her film, No Other Choice, directed by Park Chan-wook, is the polar opposite of Harbin. Small, claustrophobic, relentlessly contemporary. She plays Midi, an ordinary wife and mother pushed to the edge by a collapsing marriage, financial ruin, and the unbearable weight of choices that have no good outcome. There are no gunfights, no period costumes, no swelling orchestral score. Just a woman sitting at a kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at overdue bills while her child sleeps in the next room. And somehow, Ye-jin makes it absolutely shattering. North American critics, not always easy to impress with Korean domestic dramas, lost their minds over her. One wrote that watching her was like seeing someone think in real time. Another called her the quietest storm in modern cinema. The magic is in the restraint. A slight tightening around the eyes when her husband lies. The way her fingers pause for half a second longer than necessary before signing a document that will change everything. These are the details that turn a good performance into something you can't unsee. After 7 years away from the big screen, years spent raising her son and choosing projects with surgical care, she returned with a maturity that only real life can give an actor. She has spoken openly about how motherhood cracked her open emotionally, how scenes opposite child actors suddenly carried an authenticity she couldn't have accessed before. There's a sequence where Miri watches her daughter draw a family portrait that no longer includes daddy, and Son Ye-jin's face cycles through pride, guilt, terror, and love so quickly that you almost need to watch it frame by frame to catch every shade. The Blue Dragon Best Actress space that year was absurdly stacked. Legends, comeback queens, and rising geniuses all in the same category. Yet when Son Ye-jin's name was called, the applause felt inevitable, like the room had been holding its breath for her specifically. In her speech, she thanked Park Chan-wook for trusting her with a character who had no heroic moments, only human ones. And then, with that soft smile the world fell in love with 2 decades ago, she looked straight at Hyun across the sea of tables and said, "Thank you for teaching our son what courage looks like every single day." The cameras caught Hyun bowing his head, trying and failing to hide how hard he was crying. Together, their victories painted a perfect diptych of what acting can be. He showed us the grand, mythic scale of sacrifice. She reminded us that sacrifice often happens in pajamas at the breakfast table. One performance required him to become a ghost from 1909. The other asked her to reveal the parts of herself she usually keeps most private. And they did it in the same year, while raising a toddler, while the whole country watched their every move, like proud but slightly obsessive parents. Long before this night, they had already made history together at the 2020 Baeksang Arts Awards, sweeping the TikTok popularity prizes, and proving that no celebrity couple in Korea, perhaps in the world, commands the same level of affectionate obsession. But the 2025 Blue Dragon sweep felt different, weightier. It wasn't just about fame or even talent anymore. It was the culmination of 2 artists who had spent 20 years honing their craft separately, then chose to build a life together, and somehow, against every odd, reached their absolute peaks at the exact same moment. When they finally stood together on stage for the official photos, Best Actor trophy in his hand, Best Actress in hers, the flashes were blinding. Commentators called it the most beautiful photograph in Korean film history. And maybe they're right. Because in that image, you don't just see 2 trophies or 2 perfect performances. You see proof that sometimes the universe arranges things so precisely, so poetically, that all you can do is stand back in wonder. Years from now, when film students study 2025, they will watch Harbin and feel the chill of history breathing down their necks. They will watch No Other Choice and recognize fragments of their own mothers, sisters, or selves. And then they will pull up that awards ceremony clip. Hyun thanking the patriots who came before him, Son Ye-jin thanking the man sitting in the front row who waited for her through every take, every breakdown, every 4 a.m. feed. They will see 2 people who became parents, partners, and on one unforgettable winter night in Seoul, the undisputed king and queen of Korean acting, crowned not by luck or hype, but by the rarest currency in the world. Performances that made millions of strangers feel less alone. That, more than any trophy or headline, is the real fairy tale. And it actually happened.